Welcome to Stories Junction. Let's begin today's story. My wife, Elena, and I have been married for 6 years. 6 years of effort, compromise, and clinging to the fading embers of what we once shared. I'd poured everything into keeping us afloat, but no matter how much I gave, it never seemed to satisfy her. It wasn't always this way. In the beginning, our love felt like a wildfire, fierce and untamed. We met in a small coffee shop in Portland, where she'd spilled her latte on my shoes and laughed it off with a charm that hooked me instantly. Back then, we were inseparable. We'd spend hours sprawled on her tiny apartment couch, dreaming aloud about the future, travel, a house by the coast, maybe kids someday. Her eyes used to light up when she looked at me, like I was her whole world, and I believed I was. For a while, I thought we'd built something unshakable. But cracks formed over time, so subtle at first I barely noticed. It started with small digs, little jabs about my quirks or decisions. "You're wearing that to dinner?" she'd say, arching an eyebrow. Or, "My brother would have finished that shelf twice as fast." I brushed it off as harmless, even chuckled along, convincing myself it was just her sense of humor. But the comments sharpened, the playfulness fading into something colder. "You're so disorganized, James." My dad always kept things in order, she'd remark, or, "You're seriously cooking it like that." I'd laugh less, nod more, and tell myself it didn't matter. Then came the comparisons. At first, they were vague. Her friends' husbands who planned elaborate vacations, her uncle who built furniture from scratch. I'd grit my teeth and let it slide, chalking it up to her venting. But soon, a name slipped in: Daniel. Her ex. It started innocently enough. Daniel used to take me to these amazing little restaurants. She'd say wistfully over dinner, or, "Daniel could fix anything. He once rebuilt my car's engine." I'd feel my stomach twist, but I'd force a smile, telling myself it was just nostalgia, nothing more. Except it wasn't. The mentions grew frequent, pointed. Daniel never forgot a birthday. He'd always surprise me with something thoughtful. Daniel knew how to make a night special. I never met Daniel, but I despised him, not for who he was, but for how Elena wielded him like a measuring stick I could never match. Doubt crept in. Was I really so lacking? Was I failing her that badly? So I tried harder. I booked weekend getaways to quaint towns outside Seattle, even when work left me drained. I taught myself to patch drywall and repair leaky faucets, just to prove I could be handy too. I bent over backwards to be the husband she seemed to want, hoping she'd stop staring at me like I was a project gone wrong. But my efforts went unnoticed, or worse, unappreciated. She'd barely glance at the flowers I brought home before tossing out a critique. "They're nice, but Daniel knew I liked lilies." The distance grew. Her words cut deeper, and I felt like a ghost in my own home. Still, I clung to hope. Every marriage had its storms, right? I told myself she'd see how much I cared, that we'd pull through. But one evening, everything changed. We were fighting again, over what, I can't recall. Maybe I'd left the garage a mess, or maybe I'd missed some unspoken cue. The argument spiraled, as it always did, until she stood in our dimly lit kitchen, arms folded, eyes blazing. "You're so passive, James," she snapped. Daniel, he was a real man. He took charge. The room went still. I'd stomached a lot, her barbs, her comparisons, but this sliced through me. I stared at her, really saw her, and realized the woman I'd loved was gone, replaced by someone who didn't respect me, who'd already written me off. Something snapped, not in anger, but in clarity. I didn't shout or plead. I just exhaled, a slow, steady breath, and said, "All right." She blinked, caught off guard. "All right? That's it." I didn't answer. I turned and walked to the bedroom, her voice trailing behind me. Typical. Just walk away like always. But I wasn't fleeing. I was choosing. That night, lying in the dark, I replayed our 6 years together. Every sacrifice, every silent plea for her approval, met with disdain. I was done begging for someone who refused to see me. By morning, I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I woke before dawn, the house silent except for the faint hum of the heater. Elena was still asleep, her breathing soft in the next room. I didn't wake her. I didn't leave a note or say goodbye. I just grabbed my keys, slipped on my coat, and walked out into the gray Seattle mist. There was no dramatic farewell, no final glance back, just the calm resolve of a man who'd run out of words. I drove straight to a lawyer's office downtown, a place I'd found online weeks ago during a late-night spiral I hadn't admitted to myself. The receptionist barely looked up as I signed in, and within an hour, I was sitting across from a man in a crisp suit, filing for divorce. It felt surreal, watching the pen move across the papers, but there was no hesitation, no anger, no sadness, just a strange, steady certainty. The marriage hadn't ended that morning. It had died long before, buried under years of Elena's contempt. When I finished, the lawyer asked if I wanted to add anything: custody, assets, a message. I shook my head. "Just make it quick," I said. He nodded, and that was that. I walked out into the drizzle, lighter somehow, like I'd shed a weight I hadn't known I was carrying. When I got home that evening, Elena was on the couch, scrolling through her phone, the TV flickering in the background. Normally, she'd have something ready the moment I stepped through the door, a complaint about the trash, a jab about my timing. But this time, she just glanced up, her eyes narrowing slightly. I didn't greet her, didn't ask about her day. I walked past her to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and sat in the armchair across the room. She shifted, waiting for me to say something to react. I didn't. I flipped on a random show and stared at the screen, letting the silence stretch. "You're quiet tonight," she finally said, her tone edged with suspicion. I didn't look at her. "Tired," I replied, sipping my water. She huffed, a small, dismissive sound, and went back to her phone. I could feel her watching me, though, testing, probing, expecting the usual pattern, her pushing, me bending, me trying to fix it. Not this time. I finished my drink, stood, and went to bed without another word. Let her figure it out, I thought. From that day on, I stopped engaging. I came home late, sometimes from work, sometimes from nowhere in particular. I didn't tell her where I'd been, didn't answer her texts asking, "Where are you?" or "Why aren't you home?" I stopped acknowledging her presence beyond the bare minimum. If she spoke, I'd nod or shrug, my responses clipped and indifferent. At first, she treated it like a game. "Oh, so we're doing the silent treatment now," she'd say, rolling her eyes. Real mature James. I let roll off me, unbothered. She thought I was sulking, that I'd crack eventually and beg for her attention. She didn't realize I was already gone. Days turned into weeks, and the dynamic shifted. One night, I came home well past midnight. I'd been at a bar, not drinking much, just sitting, letting time pass. While I walked in, Elena was waiting, perched on the edge of the couch, arms crossed tight. "Where the hell were you?" she demanded, her voice sharp. I kicked off my boots, barely glancing her way. "Out." Her jaw tightened. "Out where?" I shrugged, heading for the fridge. "Does it matter?" She stood, stepping into my path. "You don't care anymore, do you?" I set my keys on the counter, meeting her gaze for the first time in days. No, her eyes widened, just for a second, before she masked it with a bitter laugh. "Wow, just like that." I nodded. "Just like that." She stared at me, searching for a crack, some sign I was bluffing. I wasn't. "What's wrong with you?" she pressed. "You've been acting like I don't exist." I leaned against the counter, calm and steady. "You've made it clear I'm not what you want, Elena. You've spent years telling me I'm not enough, comparing me to Daniel, to everyone else. So why should I keep trying?" Her mouth opened, then closed. For once, she didn't have a comeback. Something flickered in her expression, uncertainty, maybe even regret, but it vanished as fast as it came. She straightened, tossing her hair back. "Fine," she said, her voice cold. "If that's how you feel, I want a divorce." I smirked, almost amused. "Already handled it. Filed the morning after our last fight. Papers are on the way. You'll need to pack soon." She froze, blinking like she hadn't heard me right. "What?" "You heard me," I said, brushing past her. "You're not serious." Dead serious. She stood there, silent, as I walked to the bedroom. For the first time, she didn't follow, didn't argue. I closed the door and let the quiet settle. 2 days later, she was gone. I'd expected a fight, some drawn-out battle to spite me, but she didn't have it in her. She packed her bags, loaded her car, and left without a word. The house felt empty, but not in a bad way. For the first time in years, I could breathe. Elena's absence hit the house like a sudden thaw after a long freeze. The first few days, I half expected her to barge back in, demanding something, an apology, a fight, a second chance. But the door stayed shut, and the silence held. I didn't miss her, not the way I thought I might. What I felt wasn't grief or longing. It was relief, sharp and clean, like stepping out of a storm into still air. For years, I'd lived under her shadow, dodging her critiques, chasing her approval. Now, with her gone, I could hear my own thoughts again. I didn't waste time dwelling. The divorce papers arrived a week later, and Elena signed them without a fuss. No haggling over the house, no petty disputes over who got what. I kept our little two-bedroom rental in Tacoma. She took her clothes, her books, and the overpriced blender she'd insisted we buy. It was the smoothest break I could have asked for, and I didn't question it. Maybe she knew she'd pushed too far, or maybe she just didn't care enough to fight. Either way, it was done. By the end of the month, we were legally untangled, no longer husband and wife. Word spread fast. Friends, ours, hers, mine, started talking. I didn't go looking for updates, but they found me anyway. Elena's doing great. A mutual friend, Cara, said over coffee one afternoon. She's been out every weekend, parties, dates, the works. Looks happy. I stir my drink, unbothered. Good for her. Cara raised an eyebrow, waiting for more, some hint of bitterness or jealousy. I didn't give it. Elena could do whatever she wanted now. She'd spent years acting like I was holding her back. Let her prove it. And for a while, it seemed like she was. Instagram posts filtered through mutuals. Elena at rooftop bars, laughing with strangers. Elena in a new dress, arm around some guy with a slick haircut. She was living the life she'd always hinted at wanting. Free, flashy, unburdened. People ate it up. She's glowing, someone commented. Divorce looks good on her. I didn't check her pages myself, didn't need to. The chatter reached me anyway, like background noise I could tune out. I wasn't rooting against her, but I wasn't cheering either. She was her own story now, not mine. Me? I turned inward. Work became my anchor. I'd spent so long splitting my energy, half on my job, half on pleasing Elena, that I'd forgotten what focus felt like. I threw myself into projects at the architecture firm, sketching designs late into the night, pitching ideas I'd shelved during the marriage. My boss noticed. "You're on fire, James," he said one day, clapping me on the shoulder. A promotion followed, senior designer, a title I'd eyed for years but never chased hard enough. Opportunities opened up, a conference in Denver, a client meeting in San Francisco. I said yes to all of it, filling my days with something concrete, something mine. The house changed too. I rearranged the furniture, painted the walls a deep blue Elena would have hated. I cooked what I wanted, messy, spicy dishes she'd have turned her nose up at. Friends dropped by more, filling the space with laughter instead of tension. "You seem lighter," my buddy Mark said one night over beers. "Like you're finally you again." I nodded, sipping my drink. He wasn't wrong. I was shedding the version of myself I'd twisted into for her. Quiet, accommodating, desperate to measure up. The real James was still here, just buried under 6 years of trying. Then the rumor shifted. Cara brought it up first, twirling a straw in her iced tea. "Elena's not posting as much lately. Word is the dating thing's not going how she planned." I raised an eyebrow, waiting. "Guys aren't sticking around," she went on. "She thought it'd be easy, find someone better, you know? But apparently, they're not. I don't know, committed like you were." I snorted, half amused. "Shocking." Cara grinned. "Right? She told me the other day, men don't try anymore." I almost choked laughing. It didn't surprise me. Elena had always assumed my effort. Planning dates, fixing things, listening was standard, something she could replicate with a snap of her fingers. She'd taken it for granted, convinced the problem was me, not her expectations. Now she was learning the hard way. Not every guy was willing to put up with her jabs, her entitlement, her habit of comparing them to some golden past. The ones who stayed didn't offer the romance she craved, and the ones she wanted didn't stick around. "She's lonely," Kara added softer. Won't admit it, but you can tell. I shrugged. That's on her. And it was. She'd walked away thinking the grass was greener, that I was the flaw holding her back. I didn't wish her misery, but I didn't feel sorry for her either. She'd made her choice. I made mine. For the first time in years, I was sleeping through the night, no arguments echoing in my head, no dread of what she'd say next. I was free, not just from her, but from the version of myself I'd let her shape. And I wasn't looking back. Life settled into a rhythm I hadn't known since before Elena. Mornings were mine, coffee on the porch, the Puget Sound fog rolling in, no one to critique how I brewed it. Work kept me busy, but it wasn't just a distraction anymore. It was purpose. The promotion had opened doors, bigger projects, travel, a paycheck that let me breathe easier. I started running again, something Elena had always mocked as pointless jogging. 3 miles along the waterfront became my therapy, the steady thud of my sneakers drowning out the noise she'd left behind. Friends noticed the shift. You're different, Mark said one night, grinning over a poker game. Like you've got your edge back. I smirked, dealing the cards. Never lost it, just misplaced it for a while. Elena faded into the background, a memory I didn't bother dusting off. The gossip still trickled in, though unasked for but unavoidable. She's dating some tech guy now, Kara mentioned one afternoon, sipping wine at a brewery. Posts pictures, but they don't look happy. He's all flash, no substance. I nodded, uninterested. Hope it works out, I said, and meant it. Not out of kindness, but indifference. Her life wasn't my concern anymore. The updates kept coming anyway. The tech guy didn't last, replaced by a bartender, then a gym trainer. Each one fizzled faster than the last. She's complaining again, Kara said weeks later. Says guys don't get her, don't try hard enough. I laughed, a short, dry sound. Sounds familiar. Then, out of the blue, she reached out. My phone buzzed one evening, her name lighting up the screen. Hey, how's it going? I stared at it, thumb hovering, then set it down, unanswered. A few days later, another was thinking about you. Hope you're good. I didn't bite. I knew the pattern. Elena didn't do casual check-ins. This was reconnaissance, a toe in the water to see if I'd jump back in. She'd spent months chasing her better life, only to find a hollow. Now, she was circling back, sniffing for the stability she'd tossed aside. I wasn't playing. Her subtle prods escalated. A nice pic comment undershot of me hiking Rainier. A thumbs up on a work post about a new building design. Small, calculated hooks, meant to reel me in. I ignored them all. Then, one night, the phone rang. Her number glowed in the dark, and for a split second, I almost let it go to voicemail. Curiosity won. I picked up. Hello. A pause. Then her voice, softer than I remembered. Hey, James. It's me. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. Yeah. What's up? Another hesitation. I miss you. I didn't flinch. No, you don't. She laughed, nervous, unsteady. I do. I've been thinking about us. Everything we had. I cut in calm but firm. You mean everything you threw away? Silence stretched, heavy. I didn't mean it like that, she said finally. I just feel like we gave up too fast. I nearly laughed. Too fast. Elena, you spent years telling me I wasn't enough. You left. That was your call. She sighed, a faint tremble in it. I know I messed up. I wanted to talk. We're talking, I said, voice flat. Anything else? She faltered. No, I guess not. All right. Take care. I hung up. No anger, no second thoughts. She texted again the next day. A long, rambling message about regret, how she'd taken me for granted, how she wished we could try again. I read it, left it on read, and went for a run. She'd had her shot. I wasn't her fallback plan. The messages kept coming over the next few weeks. Apologies laced with nostalgia, hints at reconciliation. I see now how good you were to me. I was stupid to let you go. I didn't respond. She was grappling with the life she'd chosen, alone in a way she hadn't expected, while I was building something new. Work took me to Portland for a conference, where I met a woman, Lila, over drinks at a hotel bar. She was sharp, funny, with no trace of judgment in her laugh. We talked for hours, and when she smiled at me, it didn't feel like a test I had to pass. I didn't tell Elena about it, didn't know her that, but the contrast was stark. Lila saw me. Elena never had. Meanwhile, the rumors flipped. She's not herself, Kara said one day, stirring her coffee. Stop going out, barely posts. Asked about you last week. Wanted to know if you're seeing someone. I shrugged. She can wonder. Kara smirked. She's realizing what she lost. Maybe, I said. But that's her problem. And it was. Elena had bet on finding something better, only to discover the grass wasn't greener. It was just different. I didn't hate her for it. I didn't care enough to. I was too busy living, running, working, laughing with people who didn't measure me against a ghost. She could keep her regrets. I was done carrying them. Months rolled by, and Elena's shadow shrank to a speck on the horizon. Her texts tapered off, first weekly, then monthly, until they stopped altogether. The last one was short, almost resigned. I hope you're happy, James. I mean it. I didn't reply. Not out of spite, but because there was nothing left to say. She'd burned through her apologies, her pleas, and I'd let them drift past like smoke. I wasn't angry anymore, wasn't hurt, just attached, like she was a chapter I'd finished reading and shelved for good. The silence felt right. Life, meanwhile, bloomed. Work kept me on my toes. New contracts, a trip to Boise for client pitch, a raise that let me trade my beat-up sedan for something with fewer miles. I ran the Tacoma Narrows Bridge Trail every weekend, the salt air clearing my head. Lila, the woman from Portland, became a steady presence. Not a whirlwind romance, but a slow, easy thing. We'd meet halfway between our cities, grab dinner, hike trails she knew like the back of her hand. She didn't compare me to anyone, didn't pick apart my edges. When she laughed at my bad puns, it felt like a gift, not a grudging concession. I wasn't rushing to define it, but it was good, better than I'd had in years. The house reflected the shift. I tore out the carpet Elena had hated, replaced it with hardwood I installed myself. The walls stayed that deep blue she'd have scoffed at, and I hung photos, me with friends, shots from trips, a sketch of a building I designed. It wasn't her space anymore. It was mine. Mark and Kara came over often, filling the rooms with card games and takeout debates. You're thriving, man, Mark said one night, cracking open a beer. Divorce was the best thing that ever happened to you. I grinned. Not wrong. Elena's story filtered back in fragments, mostly through Kara. She's quiet now, she told me over lunch one day. No more big nights out, no new guys. She's working some office job. Nothing flashy. Asked about you again, though. I sipped my coffee, unbothered. What did she want to know? If you're serious with someone, Kara said, smirking. I told her you're doing fine. Left it at that. I nodded. Good enough. Kara leaned forward, curious. Doesn't it get to you? Her fishing like that. I shook my head. She's not my problem anymore. And she wasn't. The rumors painted a picture. Elena's grand adventure had fizzled. The dating scene chewed her up. Guys who ghosted, guys who didn't call back, guys who didn't match the Daniel-shaped pedestal she'd built in her mind. Friends said she'd stopped talking about her new life, stopped pretending it was all she dreamed. She's lonely, Kara added once, softer. Won't say it, but you can see it. Keeps bringing up old stuff, trips you took, things you fixed. Like she's stuck there. I shrugged. She chose that. I didn't gloat. Didn't need to. Elena had walked away betting on a fairy tale. Someone better, someone flawless. Only to find the real world didn't bend to her script. I'd been the steady one, the one who tried, and she'd tossed it aside, convinced it was disposable. Now she was alone, piecing together what went wrong, while I was miles ahead. If she regretted it, that was her burden to carry. I'd already set mine down. One evening I got a call. Not Elena, but her sister, Rachel. We'd always gotten along, stayed civil even after the split. Hey, James, she said, voice tentative. Just wanted to check in. I leaned against the counter, wary. I'm good. You? Fine, she said, then paused. Look, I know it's not my place, but she's not okay. She won't admit it, but she misses you. Keeps saying she screwed up. I exhaled slow. She did. But that's done, Rachel. I know, she said. I just thought you should hear it. She's not asking me to call. She'd kill me if she knew. But I see her, and it's rough. I didn't say much after that. Just a polite thank for letting me know before hanging up. It didn't change anything. Elena could miss me all she wanted. It didn't rewrite the years she'd spent tearing me down. I wasn't her lifeline, her redo button. She'd had her chance and bet against me. I'd moved on, not out of revenge, but necessity. The man she missed didn't exist anymore. I'd outgrown him. Spring hit, and I took Lila to the coast. Cannon Beach, all wind and waves. We walked the shoreline, her hand brushing mine, and I felt something settle. Peace, maybe, or just the weight of being enough. Back home, I posted a photo. Haystack Rock at sunset, no caption. Elena liked it within an hour. I didn't react. She could watch from afar, cling to whatever scraps she found. I was too busy living, working, running, laughing, loving in a way that didn't demand I prove myself. She'd lost her shot at that, and I'd found mine. The road ahead was mine alone, and for the first time, that felt like freedom.